Broadcasting from Ireland, featuring interviews with some of the biggest names in magic. Welcome to the Deceive Reality Podcast with your hosts, David Peace and Steve Spade.
And we're back. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Who do we think we are? But we're back. You know what I mean? Keep going. But we have this very special guest this week, Drew Perry. Drew, how are you doing?
I'm really, really well now because I've recovered from Blackpool. If you'd asked me that 2 days ago, I'd have given you a different answer. But now I'm great.
That's good. We're all a bit sick. Steve, how are you doing?
I'm good. I fucked up my ankle, and I'm changing my stage name, so that's going to be exciting. But other than that, I'm good.
Mr. Shovel in the building.
Mr. Shovel.
Yeah, it's so much better. But yeah, so like I'm on antibiotics since Blackpool. Also, my big toe is numb, and I don't know why. It's been numb for over a week.
Okay,
that's fun.
That's weird.
Yeah,
that is weird.
Steve's ankle sucked. You've
fucked up my ankle.
Yeah,
Blackpool is like war. Blackpool is like war. It's like you've got to train for that shit.
100%. My dad's coming next year, and I'm like, it's a marathon. It's going to take time. You really want to work through it. But yeah, we'll get to Blackpool and all that stuff first. But we'll start with yourself, Drew. It's kind of like there's always the cliche question of like how you got into magic and all that sort of stuff. But as well as that, how did you kind of get into that sort of like creating and like doing 3D printing, putting stuff together and all that sort of side of magic?
Weirdly, both questions also almost have the same answer. So I didn't start out in magic per se. I came into this when I was 12, 13-ish years old. I was into making props for theatre. That's how I started. So for like the school theatre productions, I would just get involved and make all sorts. And we actually forget which production it was, but they wanted a staff for a wizard that shot lightning. And I was like, I'll make that. I don't know how, but I'll make that. And I spoke to a teacher, and they said, oh, you should head to Davenport's, and they'll sell you some flash string and flash cotton and flash wool, and that's a good place to start. And that was literally like the moment I got the bug for magic, really, was when I first went to Davenport's, and I was going there for this prop, for this staff, which I still have in my loft. And yeah, that like I've obviously went in and asked for flash wool and flash string, and can you explain to me how it works and how to use it safely? And they gave me some pointers, and then they showed me a couple of other tricks, and I think that was the web, which obviously, yeah, exactly, classic Davenport stem trick, right?
Yeah.
And they showed me, which didn't really particularly fool me per se, but I was like, oh, that's really fun and entertaining. And they showed me a couple of other bits, and I think I bought something else at the same time. I forget what, and that was really what got me into like playing with some bits of magic. And so I went back to Davenport's. I started going to international, and when I started going to international, I met Bobby Bernard, who was a character, but he was very kind and very generous with his time with me, and really helped me understand sort of magical thinking and theory behind what makes something entertaining to the audience, and really running drills of sleight of hand to get to the point where it's muscle memory, and so that you can focus on the performance and all of that side of things. He really opened me to that. And then by the time I was 19, 20, 21 years old, I was doing restaurants. And that, like, nothing unique. At that point, I wasn't making my own tricks. I was doing Crazy Man's Handcuffs and Ambitious Cards and Sandwich Routines and Free Fly and stuff like that. And I then pretty much left the industry and left the scene when I was about 23, 24 maybe. And I would occasionally log on to Alakazam, or I'd occasionally pick up a deck of cards and practice my classic pass, but that was it until COVID. And I was still doing scenic build and props and theatres all throughout all of this. And then during COVID lockdown, I was like bored and getting the stuff out of the loft, and then I got properly back into it. And through all of that time, I've built up a very nice career, and I have access to a very, very nice workshop. So during the lockdown period where that workshop is doing nothing, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could make a dancing cane. I'll just make one. And then because I had that access and I had that sort of mindset and that builder sort of mentality and this sort of magical grounding from when I was younger, I just started making all sorts for all sorts of people. And in the lockdown there were lots of Zooms. Alakazam had their Discord server, so I joined that. That's how I got to know more of that crowd of people. And then, one day I got the phone call from Peter Nardi to say, I've got this thing, can you make it? And that was
it.
I don't know, probably 6 years ago now, 6 years ago now. And that was, that was the door that got me into that sort of thing of like, oh, Drew's the person to ask to make that.
Cool.
That's cool.
I love that one of the most flammable substances in the world, and you're just like, go to a magic shop, pick some of that up, and set fire, hope for the best.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Basically, yeah. It was, and it was really crude. It just used a little 9-volt battery, a little switch, a little arc to heat it up. But it still works, and it shot the little bit of flash string and then lit it.
Cool.
Coming at you, Alakazam, next year.
Alakazam, yeah, everyone's gonna have a Merlin set.
No, I don't think I'd ever want to release a fire-based trick. It's too much liability for me. I don't think I'd ever want to do it. I'll make bits and pieces for one-offs where I know the person. I'd always be nervous about making something as a release.
That was something I noticed actually. Like this year at Blackpool, there was a lot more fire in the rounds of dealers hall than I was used to or expecting.
Yeah,
I think that's partly because there were some newer dealers. There were 30 dealers this year that were there for the first time, and they don't necessarily know that you're not meant to have fire or flash products on demo at Blackpool.
Yeah.
And there were definitely some people ignoring that rule.
The smell at some point, you're like, what the?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a smell of singed hair and fear somewhere. It has to be.
Yeah, there was definitely more of that this year than normal.
Because we can't even get flash paper here because no one will ship it, and there's no physical shop here anymore. So it's like, just hopefully you can get some through your luggage.
Yeah, that's that. I didn't realize that. I mean, I use it all the time, so I use a lot of flash products, but.
And then you released like the bricked like Lego Omni thing. Where did the idea for that come from? Was it just sitting there with Lego one day?
Sort of. So I was there's some Lego design software called Bricklink Studio, and I was sat in that designing something for another magician. He said, "Could you make this thing?" And that project actually never went anywhere. I don't believe he might still be working on it, but I don't think so. And I just noticed that two 4x2 bricks together. I can probably demonstrate. So 8 studs wide happened. I just laid out something like this in the software, and I was like, 68 millimeters. That's about the same width as a poker playing card. And I was like, oh, I wonder. And the rest is like, once I realized an 8x11 grid of Lego is the same as bicycle poker size. I mean, the rest of the routine writes itself, right? I mean, there's the rest just fell into place and was very straightforward. Like, and I just knew, like, I love OmniDeck as a routine. When I was doing restaurants in my 20s, OmniDeck was a go-to, but I always felt like I didn't know what it was. Like, it was magical and it was confusing, and it always amazed audiences, but it didn't actually make a lot of sense as a piece. So Bricked was sort of my answer to that problem, because at least it's slightly more justified and it's slightly more interesting, and you get more, for me, slightly more out of it. It's not going to suit everyone, but for me, it's just a really fun version of an Omni style deck switch.
Yeah.
It feels different too. Like, we've all had the gigs where people are like, "Oh, can you turn the deck to glass?" And I'm like, "No, but I can turn it to plexiglass." No, okay. But it's like, but like when you're doing it, it's like a lot of times at weddings, that sort of stuff. There's kids around, and then it's like it's
exactly.
adults also plays with the kids, so it's got a nice position with it.
Especially Lego at the moment. Like Lego, I mean, you can see other Lego things there. Lego's really popular. There's a really lovely nostalgia level for the adults, but it's also visually interesting. And anything solid deception-y type trick is just visually interesting regardless of your age. And you can therefore also really tailor the routine you're doing for that table based on the age and the crowd at that table. So you don't really need to make it about it being a card trick. It could just be a very simple visual piece of magic, and so it doesn't feel like it's a card trick to the younger crowd that aren't interested in that.
Yep.
But if you've got some Lego fans on the table, you can make it more about the Lego and make it more about the minifigures and the card design, and then the deck switch at the end is a complete wow moment.
Yeah, that's a good.
If Lego released a deck, it would be at least €100 with the price of Lego.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
No, but Druid does have a really good start, middle, and end. You know, I remember when I first saw it, it's really clever.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like, I just always felt like Omnideck didn't really have that level of sense. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure people are going to prefer Omnideck and do the magic that suits you. But for someone who did restaurants a lot, and I did TGI Fridays specifically quite a lot, I know that would suit me just way more. And I am working on other Lego things that you will see soon, I'm sure.
Cool.
Little tease. Because you can see that as well as, like, we always talk about if you're in an area where there are other magicians performing and you're a gigging magician as well, not just like socially, it's important to have a different set to what the other magicians are doing. So that so if one's doing Omnideck, you can do the Lego. If the other person's doing Lego, you can do Omni. And then it's like nobody's seeing the same trick when they hire a different magician.
Exactly, and if let's say I was doing Bricked and I'm doing a gig and someone else is doing Omnideck with a clear traditional Omnideck, then I won't make my routine about the deck switch. I'll make it a card to impossible location that happens to involve a deck switch, because with Bricked you can have another card loaded inside it, and they can take it apart. So it's that's then just a phase. And the reveal is that their signed card is inside the gimmick.
Yeah.
So feel like from the audience's point of view, it feels very different, but I'm traveling with the same thing.
Yep. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. And then when you're creating stuff like that, do you have like a preference in the sort of genre you like creating? And is it like stage close-up mentalism, or just give me everything?
Pretty much give me everything. I mean, of my releases so far, to date of recording this, because there are other releases that are planned and scheduled. So far, one is Bricked, which is close-up card family entertainment-y type routine, and the other is a stage comedy mentalism piece called Deadly Connection, which I've done with David and Matt. And I don't think those two tricks could feel any different.
Yeah, it's a slight variety. I remember seeing you. I remember seeing Matt perform that, which is about the Curious Cabaret last year, and like trying to make sure it's all flowing and getting the routine together and stuff. It's really cool to like see it then kill in a room and then available for people like less than a year later.
And it's I think for that routine for that release particularly, it's so much is about that routine, and there's so many learnings that we gained from performing it at places like Curious Cabaret, or House of Secrets, or Matt was doing it at corporate gigs and all sorts. Um, it really does go to show the value of doing that working time and getting that flight time and going, oh yeah, what happens in this scenario? Or that's a really interesting line, or that this is a different way of presenting it. Let's try it out. No, that didn't really work. Like it just gives you that time to do so. I mean, Deadly Connection was in the works for Matt and myself for about 2.5 years, and for David, I think about 5. So it's a long time in the work.
Yeah. That's like you need the flight time. You need to get it on stage. You need to get iron out all the bugs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
100%.
And also, like, for Deadly Connection, it's also about the physicality of, like, the practicality of gigging it. So how do we get this into something that can pack down and fit in your car without being a pain? We didn't want it to be a big prop, but it also needs to fill a stage.
Yeah.
So getting that balance and finding the tripod that it's based on honestly took us probably 1.5 years.
Yeah. It's that thing is that, like, with the tripod and stuff, it really does fill the stage, as you were saying, and it helps kind of, like, mentalism sometimes can be hard to make visual and sort of have people know what's going on, and it's not like a lot of times you have stuff like thrown down on a table or maybe on like a music note stand or something like that. This is like a dedicated piece that people feel like you've put the effort into your act, and you're not just after grabbing a load of stuff and going, I'll give this a go.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, I'm a big fan of Fish or 50 from John Moulton. And that was always my goal, was like, I love how that looks when it's on a stage for a parlor or cabaret piece, is it looks great. It's really smart, it's tidy. And that was always like the thing that was in our heads of like, it has to look as good. It has to look smart. I don't want it to look like we've cobbled this together out of some bits of wood or whatever. Like it had to look nice and smart and tidy. But then that's really hard to balance that against making it heavy or expensive or difficult to transport.
Sure. It does have a nice clean corporate look though. You could play it anywhere,
Yeah.
Especially with Matt doing all his murder mysteries, he's like right up in the murder space for all his stuff that works together.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also really, you could make it as comedy or not as you like. You've seen Matt do it, and there's quite a few gags, and I have quite a few silly jokey lines in there as well. But you could do it fairly straight. You don't have to. If you were doing it in a slightly more corporate environment and you were doing it as as a psychological test or something, you don't have to make it comedy.
Yeah.
Just that, because you've obviously been like demoing stuff at like Blackpool with Brick, and now you're doing it. How did you find sort of like how to demo a like 10-15 minute stage routine for people? What was like the challenge of that?
Yeah, it's difficult. I was, to be honest, what you end up doing is tailoring it for the person you're demoing for. So I will always not check that I'm not wasting my time, because I'll show anyone, but I want to make sure that they're in the right market for it. Like if they're coming to the stand, I'll say, do you want to see this? It is a stage mentalism piece. 2/3 of the people are going to go, no.
Can I do it down the pub for my friends?
Which is fine, because I have Leo Smetzers on my left doing cups and balls, and I've got Peter Nardi on my right doing incredible card routines. So if it's not for them, there'll be something else on the Alakazam stand that is for them. So I will do a little bit of sort of understanding who they are, or I know who they are, which means I don't need to ask the question, but I will do a little bit of that and make sure they understand that. And then I essentially boiled it down to having 2 essentially versions of the dem. And the one I prefer doing is if it's someone I know and I know that they understand the staging and the physicality of blocking, and I can talk to them in those sort of professional theatrical terminology, then I will just explain to them what the blocking should look like. And I'll go, for the sake of the demonstration, you're going to be the spectator, but imagine you were stood here. and you're going to be my other spectator, and imagine you were stood there, and
Yeah.
imagine this more spread out. And I can explain what that blocking looks like and describe how we prefer to do it. And if they are, for example, I was doing it for Rodney James Piper. So he knows, he understands that I could explain to him that, and he goes, yeah, get it, visualizing it. And now I can do the trick. Same for people like Mark Elston or Mark Spellman. They understand what they're seeing is a functional demonstration of the trick, not the full routine.
Yeah.
Whereas the second demo I was having to do is if they weren't that, but they wanted to see something interesting or cool, then I actually end up doing more of the proper routine, where I will get them to shuffle the cards and I will get them, and handle the things and see what it is. And when I do that, I'm more likely to fool them. Not that that's what it's about for me at Blackpool. But yeah, that's sort of my approach, is understand who they are and what they want to get out of a demonstration. Because there's no point me wasting 12, 15 minutes of Rodney Piper's time when the method can be explained in a sentence.
Yeah.
It's
like you're trying to get across, especially for those longer things. Because I even found, like, I was demoing the Faithless deck in Arcana for people, and I'm like, especially with the Faithless deck, when it's just a utility deck. Do you know what I mean? It's not like there's not one trick. So it's just like there's 20 Faithless cards and 5 Mark Traitors. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what?
Well, I was covering John Morton's stand a little bit this year as well, because he was lecturing, but obviously you've got to set up the lecture, you've got to do the lecture, you've got to sell your lecture notes and so on. So I was like, that's like getting on for half a day of having to close his stand in the dealer's hall. So I was like, I'll cover the stand. So I was ending up demming quite a lot of John's routines. And it is difficult working out how much you explain. And John is always he always prefers to err on the side of just tell them what the method is. Like, if that's okay. So he will always explain what it is that what the method is. Like, because again, he had a stage mentalism piece. Think his color match routine. You can't really perform a color match routine at the dealer's hall. It's not practical. You don't have the size, the space, the time. So it's easier just to explain what the method is and let them understand whether that method suits them or not. And that is it's a, maybe lazy, but certainly easier way to demo a trick.
Definitely, yeah. But
You have to buy it then, like.
Yeah. You're not going to go make it up, and also you're going to like think, oh yeah, where can this fit in my set, or is it something? But then I did see John did put it into his lecture then, which made sense, because then he could say, if you want to see it again or whatever, I'm at my start or whatever. So I mean, yeah,
exactly. And I think ultimately it depends on who you're trying to sell to and whether you're trying to sell to hobbyists or workers or pros. And I think most of the time, if you are doing mentalism, you're probably more likely selling to someone who is at least a semi-pro. Not always, but I think generally speaking, that's probably true. At which point, it's not about fooling them. It's not like, here's a fun toy that you can take away and play with. It's, will this fit in your act? Will you perform it? Therefore, you need to understand what the practicalities are, what the limitations are, how you might turn it into your act, and whether it fits your act or not.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be offended if it isn't.
Because you can get a bad reputation by people buying stuff, and it's just that, like, it's a good trick, but you're selling it to the wrong audience, and people are buying it expecting it to be one thing, and then the method just isn't for them. But if you sell it, people are buying it knowing the method, they can't really give a bad review unless it's bad quality, and then that's just ensuring good quality.
Exactly. Like, with Bricked, I wouldn't want to sell that to someone saying you don't need to know how to do a deck switch, because obviously you do, right?
Yeah.
And that is okay if you're not comfortable doing a deck switch. However, we go through 6 different ways of doing the deck switch on the tutorial. But if you have tried it before and you know it's not for you, that's okay. I don't want to missell a trick, because as you said, it's only hurting the art form, to my opinion, I don't want people to buy something and it to stay in their drawer. Like that's not. Yes, we'd make money, but it's not fulfilling.
Yeah, you want to see
Yeah,
people do
you-
your stuff. Like that's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
exactly. And I love it when I do see people doing my material. I love it.
That's so good. And then when you're sort of like doing the performance and like going out there and jamming other people's stuff, when you're like you're not really performing in restaurants and stuff nowadays, but do you perform a lot socially, or is it just you for yourself?
Yeah, I perform quite a lot socially, and I go to a lot of magic shows. I see a lot of magic shows, and I help write a lot of magic shows. So I still feel like I'm quite well immersed, and I'm very. When we're working on a show, um, I will sort of pseudo perform it. So
Okay.
I worked on the Now You See Me 3 premiere, which was October, November time, and with Alex Jessen. And when we were writing and working out what that show should be like in rehearsals, I would just get up on stage and go, "How about this?" And I would just perform it. I'm not the performer, but it's easy for me to slip into that role and be the performer in order to try out ideas, or so Alex can sit in the front row with the producer, the directors, and so on, and go, "What if it was like this? Okay, now you have a go. What if it was like this?" And we can progress and iterate the show that way. And I do the same with Matt Cluley. Like I will say, "What if it was this tone? What if it was this sort of style?" And I'll just perform it. So I don't necessarily perform for actual audiences, but I'm not. But I'm on the stage quite regularly, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's even like at the moment we're working on Steve's show and working on one of mine in the background as well. But it's like Steve's show's first night preview thing is on Saturday.
Yeah.
And we're like throwing out a lot of the second half, so that's gonna be fun. That's our plan
Yeah.
for the rest of the night after this. It's gonna be great fun rewriting it. But it's similar stuff that like you do walk through it. You're like even for me, and what I
You
love
have
the
to.
freedom of it is Steve will do stuff that I'll never do on stage because they don't suit me. It's not my character. But I get to
Yeah.
pretend I do it for a while. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I might have thoughts about that trick or that sort of stuff, and I get to like live vicariously through it and do it that way,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah. No, I definitely relate to that. Like I fall into that camp quite often. And then I dem quite a lot. I go to clubs. I perform socially. So I try to keep my hand in, and I don't ever want to do something without working it myself at least a bit, right? Like, but I also have a very good network of people. So if I have something I'm working on, I'll give them out to a few people and they work it for me and get that
Yeah.
feedback. I actually think sometimes that's more valuable because
yeah.
I'm happy that I'm a decent magician, but I don't consider myself to be that good a magician. I don't think I'm that good a performer. I think I'm better writing, editing, creating than I am performing. So I would rather focus my energy where I think I'm adding more value to our art form rather than going out trying to perform.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Because I see that as well. Like when you're doing a lot of the like trying stuff out, I always like giving stuff out to people as well because I even find sometimes my methods are a bit tough. Uh, like it's like even like I remember when I released Coda.
Yeah.
I was talking to Jack from who used to be at the 1914 about it, and he was like,
Yeah.
I was like, it's much easier to do than this to explain. He's like, that's not good. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I'll figure out how to explain it. But it's like there's a lot of that sort of stuff where I'm like, this mnemonic or whatever works for me. Can somebody else learn it? Or those sort of things
Yeah.
you always need
Yeah.
to figure out.
Yeah, for sure. Like my tarot routine, which may see the light of day, as a release one day in the future, I don't know. But that is a classic. I can perform it really easily and I don't have to think that much. But explaining it to someone else is really difficult because there are so many like bifurcations of what the scripting needs to be at various points. And I've done it enough times and I've thought about it for years. So for me, it's easy. But to teach that is going to be really difficult.
That's true.
I remember the first time when you were just like jazzing around with Coda, Dave, and you were explaining to me, and I was like, "What the fuck are you on about? Like what?
Yeah.
What?" And then you were like, "Yeah, but you just add this and you put it away," and I'm like, "Yeah, but you're making no sense." And you were making sense, but like it just wasn't clear. It was just like,
Yeah.
but you were like, "But it's so easy." And I
Like,
was like,
it's obvious. My wife doesn't know any magic and is not great at maths. And I was like, if I can teach to her and she gets it, I
Yeah.
got it. So then once I found out that like that she could actually do it, then I was like, okay, I know I'll explain. Because I know it is easy, but
Yeah.
it's how you explain it to people can be. That's the whole thing about
It has to be really clear and direct, and then it is very easy, you know. But yeah, when you first hear it, you're like, "What?"
because
It
you
only
don't see a
works on
lot
the
of people
third time.
doing tutorials even for people. Because like if you look like Craig Petty's pretty much on every tutorial around. Eric Tate does some. Nicola Coppo used to do a few. And
yeah.
like guys at Alakazam, obviously, Pete and Harry can do them, and like they're very clear in their stuff. But then sometimes you get a tutorial, and you're like, I've got to rewind that and start from scratch because I have no idea
Yeah.
what the person's talking about.
And obviously, you know firsthand, David, it's not easy to work out how to do a tutorial, to work out what sequence you need to explain the things in, even, and like how you get that clear and concise so that they understand what they need to understand, but also not overwhelm the people watching that tutorial. It's really difficult to tread that line. And I've even with Craig's tutorials, I've sat either in the tutorials with him or off camera in the room, and it is difficult to get that right. And I think there is a under recognized skill for good teachers. And I actually think for me it feels like that's got worse. Like before, you knew that if you were watching a Michael Amar VHS, it was going to be really well taught, you'd understand everything, but it also wouldn't be overcomplicated. And the same would be true of Daryl or Jay Sankey or of that the people of that era, if you like. You'd get it, and it was really well taught. And the same is true now, but it's sort of, I think, under recognized. When you get a Craig Petty tutorial, you do know it's going to be well taught, and yes, it'll be very in depth, and it'll be 4.5 days long, but he will. Yeah, but it will be well taught, and like say Eric Tate, the Nardis, they put that effort into that, and it's so worthwhile. It makes it so much easier when you buy a product and you start learning it, if that tutorial is good.
What I was told before I did the Coda one was like, you have to expect that this is the person's first magic trick they've ever bought. So you can't assume they know anything, which I didn't then do in my own personal releases, because I'm like, if you found my website, it's not your first magic trick. But it's like, I assume you can do a double lift. Let's just go on from there. But for that stuff, but then sometimes I do find when I get a project, they can be you're like 20 minutes in and you're like, I know how to do a double undercut.
I really like, so with Bricked, we did a sort of TLDR version of the tutorial for the first 10 minutes. It was like, if you do an Omnideck routine, we're not going to teach that to you. Here are the few things that you need to know that's different about handling this gimmick. Now crack on. If you don't know anything, now's the tutorial for you, right? And I think that was really good. And I've seen that sort of thing as I've seen on a couple of other releases. And to be honest, I don't buy a lot of Magic, so I don't watch a lot of tutorials. But I do like it when
I've started having that of like quick start guide and then
yeah, exactly. But I actually quite like that, because quite often I don't want to watch the detail because I want to make it my own, and I prefer the sort of, just give me the basics, the things I need to know, and then I'll play with it and make it up myself. I like it may be worse, it may be better, but it'll be mine. And if I go through those steps, I'm way more likely to remember it. I tried for ages to learn Garrett Thomas's stand-up Monty. I can't do it. I cannot learn that routine. However, I spent yeah, I just cannot I can't take that information in and learn that physical moves. It just doesn't work for me. However, I spent half a day with the gimmicks and came up with my own routine, and I can remember that because I came up with it.
I've learned stand-up Monty about 4 times, and then I go, okay, I have a gig on Saturday, Wednesday. Okay, I got it. Saturday comes, I go take it out. I'm like, I have no idea. I'm back in closing gigs.
I'm glad
That was
I'm
that
not the
running
only
joke for a
one.
while. We had that running joke for a while when you were like, "Oh, I'm gigging on Saturday," and I'm like, "Oh, are you going to do stand-up Monday?" And you're like, "No."
I'm like, I love the routine and I'd love to perform it. I just can't get it into my head.
I'm glad I'm not the only one. I really am.
It's just too many steps or something. I'm like, just give me a one and done and I can move on. Multi-phase, I have to come up with myself or I'm not going to get it.
Yeah, I'm the same with Charming Chinese Challenge. Like, I watched Troy Hoozer's tutorial 5-6 times and was like, nah, I'm just gonna come up with my own routine and my own handling. And then you like everything, you then start picking and choosing and making anything your own. And that for me is the bit that I really like.
Yeah. I remember actually in Blackpool you were messing around with that, and I can't really remember, but I was like, this handling is cool. And then when I went away, I was like, I can't remember what I did.
Yeah. We were messing around with hill clips. For a Charming Chinese Challenge routine. Yeah, I love Charming Chinese Challenge. It's one of my favorite plots. It really is.
It's cool. It's a very organic piece of magic. It looks like.
Me and Steve came up with a trick years ago. It was at the Lads convention in Birmingham, the Word Magic Shop one. And we'd had a few drinks and we said to set up the garden board in the room. And we had a glass and some coins. And we came up with this. It's I can say this honestly, it is the greatest coins to glass routine you will ever see in your life.
That you'll never see in your life.
It would have won FISM if we could remember what it was. We just remember thinking how incredible it was and can't remember a single face.
The only way we can remember is if we get lots of whiskey, we go to Drew's house, we set up an ironing board, and we'll figure that shit out.
We get there at the end.
I won't say what the idea is, but at Blackpool this year, we were talking about an idea for a card trick, right?
Yes.
I won't say what the idea is. And I WhatsApped myself. This is the way I like if I'm in the moment, I just need to keep a quick note. Rather than writing a note, I WhatsApp it to myself. And I WhatsApp myself a 3-word description of that card trick. And I didn't read that until yesterday. I was like, I like in the moment I had no memory of it. And I was like, no, that was with David. I remember we said that would be a really good idea. Okay, I'll make that.
That's what you want.
It's like Dave's notes. It's like the notes you take at Blackpool, Dave, where it's just like drawings and like double lift. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and like in the last podcast, we went through some of my notes from John Bannon's lecture last year.
Great.
It was not exposure because nobody can work out what the tricks were from the notes that I took that I thought were perfect explanations to the lecture.
I love that type of jamming is my favorite thing. That's what I love about like the Ruskin or other conventions or clubs is where you just throw in a stupid idea and sometimes it just goes brilliantly. Like I think 3 years ago at Blackpool, I said to Danny Goldsmith, he showed a routine and it was obviously amazing and incredible. And I just said, like, maybe slightly rudely, it was just a double lift though, wasn't it? And he laughed, obviously. And then he paused and was like, I wonder if you can do a double lift with a coin. And 20 minutes later, had a routine that used a double lift for a coin routine. And it was incredible. Like, it's one of those stupid comments that shouldn't have been a trick.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's so simple.
It was...
I did a workshop thing at work for people on creative thinking. It was like a 1-hour seminar that I put together. And one of the things is bad ideas first. Because sometimes the bad idea, the exact opposite is the good idea, or sometimes the bad idea is the good idea. And it's
absolutely. Or just anything, just invert it and see if it's better. Like so often, what if you just take the way everyone does a thing and just flip it on its head in some way, it often makes it better, or it certainly makes it unique.
Yeah, I heard Pete Turner talk about that, bringing it back to the Omni deck, of like start with the Omni deck and then turn it into a
Yeah.
deck. That's a better
Yeah.
trick. And you're like,
Yeah.
shit, it is a better trick.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think there's a lot of examples of that where what's quite funny. So, right, especially in mentalism, pattern interruption is a fundamental principle that we all use. I think possibly slightly under recognized by magicians, but pattern interruption, doing it a certain way 3-4 times with a spectator and teaching them the pattern and then breaking that pattern is a really powerful structure that we use. However, we are awful at using it ourselves when thinking about method or handling. So if someone always, if you have a favorite card control and you need to control a card as part of a routine you're trying to create, you'll use your favorite card control and you won't think about it more than that. You'll just go, right, well, I need to control that to the top. And so often, I think if you try and break the patterns that you use yourself, you often come up with more interesting methods and handling. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just taking yourself out of a comfort zone as well, not being kind of like,
Yeah,
a bit of-
exactly. Just see what else works, and I think often you end up with a simpler solution for that. Like this isn't meant to sound like a brag. My version and handling of Charming Chinese Challenge is so much simpler than Troy Hooser's, and I don't. That's just because that's how it suits.
God, you're just bragging away.
But it's just that, like, I've tried to really go, well, and simplify it and make it easier and easier and easier for me. It's not because I'm trying to show off. It's just because I'm lazy. I just want to make the routine easier for me. Like, I'm not a big knuckle busting moves guy. Like, I can do a DPS and a Himba vanish and some slightly non-basic moves, but if I can get away with not needing them, then great. I'd rather do something that's closer to self-working because I'd rather focus on the presentation.
100%.
Yeah,
like,
and it's the same
like
effect.
Always.
It's the same effect to the audience. Exact same.
Absolutely. And if I'm working less hard, then I can be working better.
That's the thing that brings it back to actually, like, from Blackpool this year, the highlight for me was actually Ben Earl's lecture, because I know a lot of Ben's work, and a lot of the stuff can be quite technical because he's incredibly with good cards. But his current stuff is all about simple. He's like, I'm gonna just do a riffle shuffle to bring the card to the top instead of doing a pass, or I'm going to. It was all about making it basic and clean. And I was going into expecting to be like quite a card heavy, maybe knuckle busting sort of session, and then you can see for both standing there being like, holy shit, this is like blowing my mind. It's like insane. But it was that sort of thing of like simplifying it. And as Steve has said a few times, it's like thinking about magic as a mentalist. As a mentalist, we try to just get rid of the method as early as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's presentation. Like, we get the peak 20 minutes before the trick can end, But it's like, that's what a lot of the sort of magic from Ben's gone to, is like, they're holding their card, not knowing it's their card, for like the last 5 minutes of presentation, and then it's their card, which just breaks them. It's
really clever. Really clever, like the way the way that it wasn't even the way that he was doing it, or it wasn't like the method. Like, you could come up with your own methods if you want to, if you didn't want to use what he was doing. It was just the way he was phrasing it to give it all, to give you like no control of what was going on, and it was all in their hands so early on. I mean, the trick is way over, but you've only started. That's a really powerful place to be.
Yeah, for sure. I worked on this was a COVID idea that I maybe will pick back up one day. Like, I have so many half-baked ideas, but I just thought it would be fun to try and make the longest ambitious card routine I could. And it's not lots of phases. The idea was, like, sat at a card table, the very first trick is essentially a single phase of an ambitious card, and then they put the card back in the middle, and you leave it to one side on the card table, do something else, not cards, and go, I wonder if it's, oh yeah, it's on the top. We'll do it again. And I'll put it back on the side. And it became a 25-minute long ambitious card routine. But it's sort of styled a bit like card in the box, because I'm just doing stuff when there's no heat on the deck. So for one of them, it's just breather grunt. So I literally, under misdirection, literally just cut the deck, in front of them, and it's so easy. And then the deck became one card, and it was their card and only their card, and I left it there. And then it became a card box with their card inside it, and then it became a sealed card box with their card inside it, and that was the finale. But it was like a 25-30 minute long ambitious card routine, but it was also probably the easiest ambitious card and had a better reaction. I only actually did it once, but it was quite a fun idea.
My brain went a different way with it, and I'm like, this would be the longest ambitious card, but also no one would give a fuck and probably put the whole audience to sleep. But I was like, you take the card, you put it on the bottom. Now it's second from bottom.
Yeah.
Now it's third from bottom, and you just keep going there, and then you square back up, and then you respread. And I was like, you could just keep culling it one card over and over and over again, and just have
that would win a FISM.
Yeah. I think around when it gets to the 49th position, I think they're really it's now only three cards on the top, 2 cards at the top. That's gonna be my trick at Blackpool next year. I'm just gonna walk around.
There you go.
The longest ambitious card in the world.
Yeah, but like if you got an hour and a half, I'm going to show you this great trick.
They should do a competition of that. Like, forget about like the international close-up. It should be a who can do the longest ambitious card routine.
That was pretty much the root of my idea. Of like, I wonder, it's the flip it, right? Everyone does an ambitious card routine. How do I flip it? I'll do it in half an hour.
Yeah.
And actually the reaction was so much stronger because of it, because A trick ends, you've got that come down. It's like, oh, I wonder if it's
Yeah.
There was a move I always had in my ambitious that I struggled with when I was like learning. I used to like riffle up the bat and then drop a card and catch it. And when I was first learning Magic, I just couldn't catch it. I kept dropping it. So I was like, I'm gonna just do it really slowly, and then I won't drop it, but I need an excuse. So I just made that phase that I do it in slow motion. And it started getting such a laugh because I barely move my hand as I slid the card and be going through it and that sort of stuff. And now I can do the move and I don't have to worry about it. But I still do it in slow motion because it gets the reaction so much. And it's just like, I just stand there and don't move until someone laughs. Or like I might just slide the card like 0.5 millimeter and then another 0.5 millimeter. And it's like, it's a gag that I do all the time now that came out of, I can't do this move. So I need to do it in slow motion.
Go down.
Yeah.
It's the best way to do it. For yourself, Drew, this year, what was your highlight of Blackpool?
Highlight of Blackpool, I think probably jamming in the Ruskin generally. I didn't go, well, I went last year, but only for one day. I don't know what it was about the Ruskin this year, but the atmosphere felt so different to me. Obviously, they've redecorated a lot, and the back room is much nicer. It's much more social. You can move around way more easily. And they've got 2 bars in the back, so it's very easy to sort of chill, but also it's really easy to mingle. And I found the atmosphere in the Ruskin this year just so much, not friendlier, but just way more social and way more mingling. Like
Definitely.
it felt like more people were just, and I don't know whether that's a few more people maybe recognize me than they did 2 years ago. Maybe that's part of it, but certainly it just felt like there was way more anyone showing anything what they're working on. And that's my favorite thing. More than the dealers hall, more than the lectures. I love seeing the shows and I love the sessioning in the Ruskin.
I think that the situation I found this year, I heard some people being like, "Oh, the Ruskin was so busy this year," but I actually felt it was quieter than like
Yeah,
a
same.
few years ago when it was smaller. Like
Yeah.
it was literally just the front bar and downstairs, really.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas the ground floor room at the back was just an incredible room to be in. Like,
Yeah,
and I agree. It wasn't that it was. It maybe was technically busier in the sense there were more magicians, but because the space was nicer and more well lit and with comfier chairs and tables and so on, it just didn't feel like you grabbed a table and then that was you and you couldn't really move around. And it
Yeah.
definitely felt like way more like, I was just wandering around with a drink in my hands and just had some incredible interactions and had some really interesting conversations. But I also was traveling, I was sort of hanging out with some younger magicians, they're friends of mine, and one of them is 12, and it was his first Blackpool. So it was great to be like, oh, can and he was really confident. He could just show people what he was working on, and like that side of it was really nice, just to see and be a little bit a part of that, and just that.
yeah,
I what I love about those Ruskin evenings is it doesn't matter how long you've been doing magic, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can learn something from the person sat next to you. Like
yeah.
always, guaranteed, doesn't matter. Like, and most people get that and love that too. Like if you're in the Ruskin, that's because you also like it. So you can literally just strike up a conversation with anyone in there, and that's great.
Yeah, it was great to see so many people just jamming around in different groups, and you could see the way they were like pairing off, and it was almost like a coin table, a card table.
Yeah.
It was good to see because sometimes it can be very kind of sporadic, and then you're trying to loop around, but it's so tight, you just can't. You like you said,
Yeah.
once you sit down, you're there, and that's it. But no, it was definitely there was more flow.
Yeah, because before, I think a couple of years ago, we got like stuck standing out by the jewelry cases by the toilets and not really being able to go anywhere. I was like, I
Yeah.
sat down in the Ruskin the most this year than ever before. There was
Yeah.
less passengers available a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I agree. Like you could sit down and have some conversations and have some really like serious, like let's work on an idea type conversations. And they were great, like just jamming with people like Reed Ferry and working on his propless stuff was a real highlight. Which is amazing. Keep an eye on that. It'll be coming out later this year. But yeah, just that side of it was great. And then after that, for me, it's the shows. Like I don't generally find I get that much out of lectures, so I don't tend to go to many lectures. But I do try to go to the shows because I like to see what magicians and various performers actually do on stage rather than teaching me a trick, because I
won't remember anything.
Yeah, exactly. I probably won't remember the detail. And yes, you might pick up some things from a lecture that's really useful and ideas, or something that they say will spark an idea, and that's really valuable. But I get more inspired from seeing the shows. And I think the Sunday Gala show this year was one of the best Blackpool shows ever. It was just incredible.
Yeah, it was like I think it was like 3 or 4 FISM winners in the lineup.
Exactly.
Champions, it's just insane.
Yeah, exactly. And some incredible slightly different, more variety to the routines as well, across the various shows. And I like that. I liked having Zuka, the juggler, who does all the crazy 3-arm juggling. All of that just made it feel a bit more special, and like we were watching a very cool show. I like hats off to Russ and Russ for putting those together. Great shows.
Yeah, we were only saying that. Like, so where else do you see that variety in any show? It's just incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
All the different styles of magic too, as well. Like you have like mind to mind, you have a quick change, you have like some animations, you have things on thread. You're like it's every different style. I was saying to a few people, I think like if you take where magic was 10 years ago and where it is now, the genre I think that has jumped the most is the quick change. Because it's like if you watched the quick change like 10 years ago, you'd see people walking out in suits that were made them look about 10
Yeah.
stone heavier than they were. And then it's like, oh,
Totally.
you've got all this clothes. But now it's like actually fucking impossible what you're seeing. Like it's absolutely
Yeah.
insane.
I actually think quick change, especially like, Leah Kyle is just a remarkable performer.
Yeah.
I actually think quick change is an unfair term to what she does, and I think as an industry or as an art form, we need to come up with a better word for what she does, because a lot of her quick changes are slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, true.
It's still quicker than I could con the clothes. But
Sure, but it's still like, one shoe changes like that, and then the other one unfurls and falls off and turns into another object, and then like
Well, is it just like
butterflies.
is it clothes magic? Because like we have carrot magic,
Exactly.
we coin magic. Is it just clothes magic?
So magic.
well, quite like I don't. But you know what I mean? Like it isn't really. It's quick change, but so much more than that. And
Yeah,
Solange as well.
evolved.
It like calling Solange a quick change act is unfair, because the manipulation stuff she's doing as well is incredible, and combining those things, like she's not a quick change act, and I don't really like Leah Kyle is more than quick change,
Yeah.
and also seeing her get to what she's doing now is incredible. Like there's nothing else on stage but what you see. There's no flats. There's nothing for anything to hide behind.
Yeah. Used to always be
and-
that kind of trunk in the middle, and they work around that trunk, which was obviously
Yeah, exactly.
you know?
There's exactly. You might not know what's going on, but you can understand. And that always takes an edge off for me. Like on any routine, like anything where any close-up magic as well. If the audience can dismiss the method of what you're doing because they have a clue as to what the method is, they may as well know the method.
Mm.
And I think with quick change, like you're saying, David, like a quick change of 10, 15, 20 years ago, it's like, well, you are obviously wearing a suit over another suit, like, and it comes off with Velcro, right? And that is enough for the audience to sort of at least partially dismiss it.
Because you don't even
Whereas-
see where the drop goes to. Because it used to be thinking of like Joe, like do you still see sometimes like confetti falling, but there's a giant dress. But or you see other ones where it's like the tube up over the head and down. But what they used to be was that that would cover the floor where they didn't want you looking because there was something there. Well, now that's more being used for the transition between outfits.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of times things are actually staying attached, not to like go into like details and stuff, but it's not just pull away Velcro clothing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It really isn't. And like if you watch either of the quick change acts at Blackpool, what you also didn't see was the like, oh, hook my thumb in there, and like none of that.
It was just they didn't touch themselves.
Exactly. Her hands were out in front of her, and yet it still happened, right?
Yeah.
And that really is, and if you don't already follow or watch Leah's socials, her like little themed socials are amazing. Like it was Pancake Day recently, and she uses the flipping of the pancake to cover the quick change, and it's like just beautifully clever. Like but her hands are holding the frying pan, so
I mean, I think it is an illusion. Like they are creating illusions at the stage. It's not complete genuine. I agree.
Or is it witchcraft and should we burn them? Do you know?
Burn them.
But yeah,
or burn everyone who was on the Sunday Gala show. None of that was possible. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah. That was a really beautiful show. Like, and Mind to Mind are just something else. They really are.
I saw a clip of them on the Magicians Network interview, and they were just like going, "Can we just try some stuff with like magic props?" They're like, "Yeah, sure." They got them all. And you're like, "How did she get the invisible deck?" Because that's not something you expect to be like handed in like an auditorium. So like,
Yeah.
there's no way they can be prepared for this, but somehow they can do it. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah. Well, with mind to mind, like if you've been around magic and mentalism long enough, you understand how they're doing what they're doing.
yeah.
You know, or a fraction of. But to watch it done so well is what makes it impressive. Like for me, if you watch a bad manipulation act, it's just boring and disappointing. For that sort of thing, you have to be excellent, or it doesn't work. Does that make sense? And I think mind to mind,
Jan Frisch. We know pretty much the method Jan Frisch is using,
precisely.
but we can't see him doing them, and it's
Yes, exactly,
it's insane.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like if that's the sort of style of magic you're doing, you have to have the execution flawless and refined. And mind to mind, I think, show what that can look like. Like it isn't necessarily going to fool us, but it is so perfect that you can't fathom how much work it's taken them to get to that point.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And it's remarkable to watch that skill level and that dedication to create the act they've created.
I like that
It's
it's like a modern version of seeing, like, you know, those black and white images in 13 steps where you're just like, nobody does this act, and then you see it in a modern take with a, you know, with their whole edge and feel and their own look and everything. But you feel like you're seeing like a vaudeville act from the Victorian era. Amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so slick, it's so fast, it's so punchy, it's so it is just perfect.
Yeah.
Like and I think that was true for so many of the acts in the various gala shows. It was just that was the best thing of that type that I've ever seen.
Especially when mentalism is going to like electronics, and like a lot of mentalists get the lazy tag because it's like you see the card guys at mad sleight of hand, you see the coin people doing absolutely mad stuff.
Yeah.
It's like if you take like Danny Goldsmith, the amount of practice he's put into coins, that's the amount of practice they've put into this act, right to mind. Probably with like 10 times more to be able to do it at that level.
Yeah, I think
so
probably
like,
more.
You can see the practice, which is a lot of times like it makes you want to like work harder because you're like, if they can do that, I need to make sure my pass is good.
Yeah, no, definitely. When you see the gala show like that, and you just see that standard, it just kind of wakes you up to be like, wow, that is what world class is, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And like the same is true with some of the other FISM acts that, you know, Jan Frisch is a great example. Like that is just a perfect act. Like it is. And I love the fact that at the Blackpool, there was no music, there was no sound.
Yeah.
And everyone in that audience was on the edge of their seats. Yeah. It was just, it's such an engaging, entertaining routine, and the dedication to get it to that point is remarkable.
There's so many levels in it too, though, because there's amazing magic, sleight of hand, there's juggling, he's an actor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so much going on. You can't duplicate it because there's too many different facets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's that killer. I definitely like. I'm already like after booking my hotels for next year, so I'm like ready to go.
Yeah, I'd do it next week if it could be. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm recovered. So let's go.
I think it might kill you if you you just go downhill. But yeah. Oh yeah, I'd go because I was even looking at like there was like I think Lloyd announced the dates of the Magic podcast, and I was like, they're doing the convention this summer. I was like, oh, what dates is that? And originally they were looking at it. I was like, oh, I'm on summer holidays that weekend. I can't go. And then they moved it to August, and I was like, oh, what date in August? Oh, the weekend of my cousin's wedding. I was like, the two weekends of the summer, the 2 weekends that I like moved from one to the other. I'm like, oh, well, like I'm the
yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely something to get over to the UK more because like there's a bit in Ireland, but like. There's a club in Dublin, there's a club in Northern Ireland, and that's about it. So it's there's more of a magic scene over.
Do you head over to Doomsday? Do you do Doomsday in May?
No,
I think you'd like that one. May is normally a tricky month for me, like with my real job.
Yeah.
I'm normally away, but I think this year I might actually make it to Doomsday.
I have to look at this
Um,
because I'm trying to work out like my holiday days from work.
Yeah.
Even though I'm like they allow me to work, I've worked fully remotely, so I just be like, oh yeah, I'll just like move my mouse a little bit there and then carry on doing magic and mental
Yeah.
on.
But yeah, I do want to go to more conventions and more clubs and so on this year.
Yeah, my aim is to start
Definitely.
lecturing this year. So if anyone wants to lecture, hit me up. That's the goal. I'll do super hard. I mean, it's really easy and practical. No, my stuff just sounds hard, but it's easy. Because I'm shit. So you know what I'm gonna do. That's a sales point. But we've gone over the hour. Got that flu. For people who want to like keep up to date and stuff that you're doing, Drew, what is the best place for them to see your stuff?
Well, so I don't really do social media much at all. If you want to get in contact with me, Facebook is pretty much the only platform I actively use. So just add me or drop me a message on Facebook. Although Facebook Messenger is going through like shitification at the moment. It's just getting so bad. So maybe I'll have to start engaging with other social platforms. But currently that is the easiest place to keep, like just add me on there or keep an eye on releases. I don't know who various releases are going to be coming out with. So it's hard to say who, but obviously I'm closely affiliated with Alakazam. So
Perfect. Yeah,
Cool.
we keep an eye out, and you just get your fiance to do all your set up an Instagram for you, and you'll be flying.
Yeah,
You can manage the whole thing.
She could. She has offered. I'm busy enough as it is. I don't need more work. Like
Yeah.
and actually, I think last year I was spending so much of my time working on projects for other people, which is great, and I'm very honored to do that. But I had no time to progress my own things. So, like, this year, I wanted to focus on my tarot deck and try and push that forward more and get some of the routines together for that. And other things that I'm working on, like other Lego things and other routines that I'm working on with Matt Cluley. And yeah, I'm trying to this year do less for other people and more for myself.
Cool.
Except for all the
Yeah.
stuff that we're going to ask you to build us after this.
Yeah.
It's only about 40 things, and we just need them by Saturday, so it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, Matt. I spoke to Matt Cluley today, and he's like, "Any chance you could build me some custom PK chairs by next weekend?" I mean, maybe.
You should just give him some chairs and be like, and he's like, "Oh, cool. How does it work?" Like, so what you do is you stand behind them and poke them in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
They're very expensive, straight from IKEA.
Yeah. No, so I will be doing a few custom bits and pieces, but yeah, I'm going to try and work on more. Like Matt's writing a show at the moment, and there's a lot of work going into that show. And then yeah, I've got a couple of things I'm trying to work on.
That's cool.
Cool, man.
Very
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and Steve, what was your highlight of Blackpool? Not that we haven't talked for like the last 2 weeks.
There was so much. It was the gala shows. It was like the jamming in the Ruskin. It was Bernard's lecture was great. Even just jamming out the Chinese coins with Drew and stuff. Just that stuff where you're not overly thinking about what it is, and you're like, oh, I remember this move I used to do years ago with something else, and then you know, and then you haven't done it in years. It always reminds me of that. You've got that little thing left in a toolbox, and you're like, don't fucking throw that out. I need that. And then someday you'll need that.
Yeah.
That's what it was a bit like. But Tobias as well, seeing him floating around doing weird, surreal shit. He's like Dali. He's like I don't know. He's like Salvador Dali or something that did card tricks. Great. The whole thing is such a great experience. You can't.
It's always it's always a surprise highlight to see what nonsense Mark Lemon is going to show you every year as well. That's always
That's the
always
highlight.
a little highlight.
Yeah, that's a highlight.
What about favorite products for you guys this year? Like
For
in the dealer's
me,
hall.
the deck penetration, I just love it because it just feels like
Yeah.
magic. I
Yeah.
just keep doing it to myself over and over and over again. That's what she said. And then I think what was the other thing? I like the Magneto Pro cap from Henry Harris as well. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I got I traded a Fateless deck for Sentinel as well from Adam Dadswell. So that's really really cool peak as well.
Have you tried Sentinel at a gig yet? Have you used it?
Not at a gig. I haven't had a close-up gig yet. But I've just been messing around with like friends and family, and it's been fine.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's so it feels sneaky, which I like.
Yeah, totally. It's one of those. It's Sentinel for me is like trying really hard to make it as fooling as possible, which most audience members aren't going to notice, but those that think about what they've just seen, it adds so many layers of deception that is really very beautiful.
Yeah,
like
I remember when I was on to Adam about it, he didn't really want to obviously just do like what say John Morton might want to do, just say that's the method or whatever. But then he was like, but maybe they think they're just buying a white blank deck. And no, there is a gimmick. I just thought that was really funny.
Yeah,
because it's like, why am I buying just a blank deck? What's that about? You know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice to have a method that just feels sneaky to perform. Do you know that way as well? It's like
totally. Like if there's a routine that's fun to perform, if the method is fun, like you are going to have fun doing it, and it's going to be more engaging because you're having fun.
Yeah.
And like I always talk about that. Any trick where it feels magical to you, you're going to react better and more naturally to it. So like if Crazy Man's Handcuffs is the example I always use. If you can do Crazy Man's Handcuffs so it's purely muscle memory, which you should be doing, right, in my opinion, then it feels like magic to you, because what you can't see anything happening either, right? So if you're looking at the rubber bands and it's happening in your hands or spectators' hands, you can react genuinely because you can't see it happen either.
Yeah.
You know, you're not thinking about it happening. And I think it's very easy to sort of forget that does have an impact on our presentation when we're performing. And like anything like the deck penetration, you know what the method is, and it's so there's a brilliant joy that moment before just after you take the bolt out and you let them hear the deck.
Yeah,
like that is just such a beautifully fun thing to do. So
you're experiencing it with them as well, because it's same as Crazy Man's Handcuffs. Like I do what I need to do, but like I don't see anything. So when I open the box and there's just a horrible deck in there, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I know I've done stuff to make this happen, but I don't understand that this has just happened. It's like, what?
Exactly. And the sort of sneaky secret move for that is so well justified that you almost forget that that's the sneaky move. Right, and it just happens and it flies like it, and because it's so inconsequential, like it's just unbelievably fooling and entertaining to you, and that undoubtedly means you give a better presentation.
And if you have good muscle memory and the effect, you know, like we spend a lifetime trying to make tricks look effortless, because that wouldn't, the magic comes out of that. Then it just looks like magic, and it looks like, how do you do it? No, like it just happens. You just play it off like it is what it is. But like when it's a method that's really clever, then the method is clever. You don't want to expose the method, but you have that little kind of, Dave was saying it before, like kind of giddiness about like, I got one over. This is great. Especially if it's a really clever method.
Yeah, especially when it's like I totally get what you mean with Sentinel. Like it's just a fun method.
Yeah, it feels like a James Bond tool when you're using it as well. It's like, it's cool because sometimes methods so good that you want to share them with your audience. You're like, no, I can't. It's my
unless you're fun and clever.
Yeah.
It's really good. Did you pick up anything, Drew, yourself that like stood out?
I bought David Penn's Dice Through Phone, the digital penetration routine.
Oh
and I-
yeah,
and
you
I-
showed me that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do love that. I think it's so beautiful. I got Hanan's version of Chanting Chinese Challenge because that was really nice to see a very different handling. So that was a no-brainer for me to pick that up. I bought one other thing. Like I say, I try to not buy too much. I only have so much time to practice things, so I'd much rather practice my own things and work on my own material, especially when I don't gig and I don't perform. What else did I pick up? I got a Switchcraft from Trick Magic. That's very cool. And I got them to make me a special version of it. So I don't know if you've seen it's the envelope, a switching envelope utility device. But I got them to make me a black one as well as a white one. So I've got there's a routine in my head of like a torn and restored and a transposition. So you get 2 cards signed. One gets torn up, the other one goes in the envelope. They switch places, and the torn one then gets restored. So
Does
it's like
the non-torn one get torn?
it could do.
That would be nice because they can transpose and change.
Yeah. That's what I want to play with. So I picked that up. And I also got Thomas Bedard's trick think outside the box, whatever it's called. That's really lovely. Like it's one of those tricks where he demmed it and I was like, that's really clever. Now can I see it again? now conveniently show my friend here so that I can see it again, because I'm pretty sure there's an element that
I was doing that. I'm like, Dave would love to see it. Now do it again.
Exactly.
I thought you thought I'd like to see these tricks. Then I'm like, this is so not for me. What the? Oh, he just wants to see it.
Yeah, exactly. I need to know if this is multiple out or not. Like whenever, when you walk around the dealer's hall, if you're fooled, the first question that I have is, "This has to be multiple out, right?"
Yeah.
And so, like, to be fair, Thomas was very gracious, and once he realised I had a pretty good idea as to some of what was going on, he showed me what was going on. He draws inspiration from The Grail by Mike Rose, which is one of my favourite methods and routines in card magic. Anyway, I don't particularly do or have a love for ACAN routines normally, but I think Thomas's handling with that is really quite clever. And I want to experiment with that a little bit and see if I can put my own twist on that.
Yeah, the Grail is killer. It's the first time I saw that, I was just like, "What?"
Yeah. And I do think Thomas's version is both better and easier.
Yeah.
With the Grail.
Sorry, when I said Knock 'em Dead by Alakazam a couple of years ago when they had the new version of Knock 'em Dead on the stand and getting out of form for me, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I just gotta buy it because I want it. It's such a good
it's such a beautiful trick, and Knock 'em Dead is so lovely. If you haven't seen it, check out Nick Locapo's handling of Knock 'em Dead. It is an absolute lesson in how your persona affects the quality of the method, and like he is so laid back and so laissez-faire about the whole routine. It's like, well, how was that even possible? Now, if you know the method to the Grail, there's a little bit of to Knock 'em Dead, there's a little bit of like memory work required, not loads, but a little bit. As you have to pay attention to what's going on, but he's like properly laid back, like, oh yeah, just spread out the cards, pull one of those cards out, like, and he's just literally so like casual about it. It makes it more impressive and more impossible, because it's just like it feels too fair. It's a really, really interesting video. If you have Knock 'em Dead, do
Yeah,
check
put
out
that on.
his presentation.
Cool.
Yeah.
You how
that's
you
my-
get on with your levitation? I know I have it too, but I haven't had a chance to look at it.
Oh, the Levitas thing.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing where you drop the card and it just stops. I bought that because I want to do it in tarot just for like a promo shot. It's so much fun. I just literally been walking around the house, just being like, drop the card, stop it, make it fall, pick it up, drop it. But I'm just like constantly doing it. It's sick. It's so good.
I didn't manage to make it to see that in the dealer's hall, unfortunately. It's one of the problems when you're behind the dealer stand so much, you only get to see so much. But from the videos, it looks really cool.
Yeah, it looks really good. It's super like I don't know, like practical type thing, but it's super easy. And like the game, it comes ready to go. You don't have to. That's always my worry with that sort of levitation stuff. It's like, do I have to build it myself? I'm not good at that. But if the gimmick came set up ready to go, I was able to do it pretty much instantly. Bit of practice getting in and out of it would be the only thing with it. But like I saw them on the stand quite a bit because they were in the inner horseshoes, and Michael O'Brien and Adam Dazzle's stand, which I was on for a bit, were like there. So like we'd be checking in to see if like Michael O'Brien was getting on and just chatting. Then you'd kind of see them going out, and they were just like going, "Oh, you want to see it?" And they'd get into it and out of it in seconds. So just with a bit of practice, it would become more practical, I'd say.
That's
like, I don't do like floating stuff. Like
no,
I don't like IT personally.
No, but like I say, it's hard. Like if you're thinking about doing it for promo, it's hard to do short promo video clips for mentalism. Like, how do you do that? It's so difficult. Like, to make a good, engaging like TikTok as a mentalist is really hard.
Yeah, because I do a lot of like tarot readings on thing of just like one tarot card of the week and just do the reading of the card. But I think even just going like, oh, this week it's this one, drop it, pause it, catch it, and then just carry on talking, and it's just like it's a bit of a hook that gets people going, what just happened? And then they can
it's that thing that stops them just scrolling past, right? It's exactly. That's unique.
And rewatching it to get extra views.
Yeah.
So that's the way to get it done. But yeah, I really like that actually as well. I was actually going through my stuff the other day, and I was like, usually the first day I go in and just spend all my money, and then I go, what the fuck did I buy? But this year it was like Saturday and Sundays when I really started buying stuff, and it was kind of stuff I'd already thought about. The only thing that was kind of like an impulse purchase was the deck penetration. Because I remember hearing that it was coming out before Blackpool, then completely forgot about it. And then I was talking to Lloyd on the Sunday morning when he was packing up and trying to get the fuck out of there before anyone saw him. Like he was like, the one thing he bought was the deck penetration. I was like, oh fuck, I forgot to do that. So finished talking to him, went downstairs and immediately thought, he was like, I'm not going to buy it. And then we're just like, yeah, I'll take that. Thank
you. I was with Lloyd. I was on the stand when Lloyd bought it, and he was just like, that's beautiful. Like, and it is just beautiful to watch. So Peter, actually, when I was at Alakazam filming the tutorial for Deadly Connection, which was in December, he showed me the deck penetration then, like one of the prototypes that they had in stock, and showed me the method. By the time we got to Blackpool, I could not remember the method. And I watched Peter do it 10, 12 times on the stand before I remembered how it works. Like, it's so beautifully done, and it's so
you know what's not beautiful, Drew, was when Dave didn't have the instructions yet, and we tried to reset it the way we thought. The way we thought to reset it.
So
it's actually very easy to do.
If you wanted to know how to reset it, you just had to watch Jenny Nardi on the Alakazam stand. Every time Peter did it, he just put it on the shelf behind, and Jenny has to quickly reset it. And it's not, it's not a slow reset, but it's not an instant reset by any stretch.
Yeah, it only. I think I have it down to like 40 seconds at the moment, which is grand.
Yeah,
and you can get I want a tarot version. That's like my wish. I'm like, I want a tarot deck penetration. That's that's my wish that I'm sending.
Now, you know what the method is, obviously. If you looked at the back design for my tarot cards, you'd agree it's pretty ideal. It's pretty ideal for doing. So maybe
It's like,
Maybe I'll have to
hi,
do that.
Peter.
Not a
Yeah.
bolt though. Like a wooden splinter or something completely solid. Not a bolt. Something that's
Yeah.
jammed in. You know.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
that
put
would be
like,
nice.
What?
like if you put like a crystal through it or something, that way, and it would just like some sort of like mystical object would be cool.
A chain or something. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I have a whole drawer of those.
Yeah.
Here's my drawer of crystals. Yeah. Yeah, I've there you go. Some of these.
Yeah,
Oh,
something
Something like that.
would be cool.
Yeah.
Because like something to secure it would be handy, but like you could totally do like just a crystal intersecting a crystal or something, and you slide out one, you
Yeah.
slide it. So there's so many things you can do. It's just
Yeah.
brilliant.
There we go.
That's
So,
the
Drew,
plan.
you're not going to be allowed to work on your own stuff. Now you're making a fucking crystal for Dave. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, my gimmick crystals. But yeah,
There you go.
I think we've gone through everything. So we just want to thank Drew for coming on. We really do appreciate it, and definitely recommend everyone check out his stuff as we go forward. And thanks again for people watching. And if you haven't picked up Fateless or Arcana, what are you doing? Come on, I need to sound my shit. No, but there, go to deceiveminds.com. You can pick up my shit there. And Steve is touring Ireland again, even though he said he was sick of touring and didn't want to, but then he booked in more tours, so you can go see that. That's what's going on.
And if you're watching and if you could not troll me this week, that'd be great because I'm up my fucking eyes. But thanks.
That'd be great. And also, if you're going to see his show on Saturday, we are writing it right now, so go easy.
We're rewriting it.
I have one last little plug that I can't believe I forgot. In about a week's time, maybe as long as 2 weeks' time, I will have a little release on my website. The website doesn't exist yet, but I will be talking about that, and you'll see that in a few places. It's
Cool.
going to be for free.
That's
So-
too expensive.
We can put. They can't handle it.
No, you should be
Yeah,
paying
no.
us. This should be the. But no, that's great. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, we can put a link up afterwards as
I'll
well.
put the link in underneath
Yeah.
after. Like I'll come back and put
Yeah.
the link in. So
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
do.
So yeah, that's perfect. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll catch you again next time. See you later.
Bye bye.